Hello again, my name is Brent Smith and I'm with Frederickseal, and today I'd like to introduce you to thread sealant, pipe tape to be exact, this stuff. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking the same thing. There's nothing you'd rather be doing than watching this guy talk about pipe tape for like 5 or 6 minutes. And you know what? It's okay. You can admit it. Alright, let's get started. If you've been around a while, you already know that not all pipe tape is created equal. It's not all the same. Quality of the tape varies wildly. There's okay tape, this kind of stuff that you buy pretty much anywhere. There's pretty good tape, this kind of stuff. Got a nice color to it. And there's premium or exceptional tape. This kind of stuff. Frederickseal, unlike others, only provides one quality of tape. Care to guess which kind it is? Well, if you guess the premium, you'd be right, and you win absolutely nothing. Ours is pure PTFE. Some know it as Teflon, but DuPont gets a little cranky when you use their brand name Teflon. So next I was going to get all sciencey, and I was going to demonstrate the importance with PTFE tape, the importance of specific gravity or relative density of various tapes relative to water at 1.0. And the denser the tape, the better and more positive the seal. But no matter the sciencey stuff, just know that Frederickseal Pure 100% PTFE has no fillers, it has no additives, it has no talc, it has nothing like that. It's a minimum of 3.5 mil thick, and it's gluten-free, and it's soy-free, and it won't give your children peanut allergies. Just saying. Actually, I'm just kind of guessing about that last stuff, but I assume it's right. How's that? So now you may ask yourself, what's the big deal with the 3.5 mil thickness? What's the deal? Well, 3.5 mil is like the sweet spot with PTFE tape. Thinner and it will fall apart on you, as I will demonstrate in a second, and thicker it just gets very difficult to use. So let me do a stretch test and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, the stretch test. This basically will give you a chance to take a look at how this tape holds up under stress, for want of a better term. So we stretch it out like this, and look at this. You get holes, you get gaps, and whatnot. This is exactly what's going to happen to this tape when you put it on a pipe, on threading, alright? That's why you have to put so many wraps around the threads, because you're making up for the deficiency of this inexpensive tape, for want of a better term. Alright, let's go to the better stuff, the blue stuff. It's supposed to be better. And you pull, and looks like Zorro's mask or something. It's just like, it's ridiculous. This is not supposed to happen, but this is what happens on the pipe threads. This is why you have to wrap it so many times to get it to seal, because you get gaps and whatnot. Now you come to the Frederickseal premium quality tape, and then nothing like it in the industry. And you stretch, and you stretch, and you stretch, and you stretch, and there are no gaps, there's no nothing. Let's do it down here just to be sure. And you stretch, and you stretch, and you stretch, and you stretch, and that's what, 2-3 times the width at least. And then look at this, magic. Pull it back, and it's like you never stretched it in the first place. It just snaps right back. And this is why you only have to do this on one wrap of any pipe, depending on the size, the diameter of the pipe. Maybe you have to use 3/4, maybe you have to use 1 inch, but this is why you only have to use one wrap around the stuff, because of the quality. Alright, what else? Well, it won't break down or harden in extreme cold or heat. It's compatible with almost everything under the sun, and it's kind of like Ready Rope for threaded pipe. And if you're unfamiliar with Ready Rope, you should watch the videos on that product also. It's exceptional. So, great product. Shameless plug. Yeah. But you might say, so what? That paste, that pipe dope stuff, that stuff hardens. Don't you want a nice rigid seal around your pipe? Well, in some applications, I suppose that would be okay. That would be fine, whatever. As long as the joint stays completely motionless and stays at a constant, consistent temperature. And good luck with that in the real world, because we all know in the real world that's not what happens. Pipes naturally vibrate as liquid runs through them, and that's called harmonic vibration, and this vibration will cause cracks in rigid seals, which will open up paths of leakage. Frederickseal PTFE tape stays flexible throughout, so it's never affected by vibration. And using that rigid seal, these failures are only magnified when the pipe repeatedly heat cycles, going from hot to cold and cold to hot. The joints not only vibrate, but they expand and contract with the cold and the heat, which cause further cracking in these rigid seals. It's why some have even resorted to a combination of paste and tape on the same joint, and don't tell me you haven't seen it if you've been around a while. You apply the paste and then to the threads, and then you wrap it with tape, or then you apply the tape and then you wrap it with paste, and basically all that does is further mask the symptoms and maybe buy you a little bit more time, but that's all it is. Another fix we've seen is you take the pipe, this happens to be a 2-inch, it's the only thing I had around, and you just wrap it and wrap it and wrap it and wrap the crap out of the joint until you use a half a mile of tape on the daggum joint. Long ago, I actually conducted my own survey of customers, and it turns out after I don't know if it was 100 or more customers or something that I spoke to years ago, the average threaded joint takes about between 5 and 7 wraps. That's what my customers told me when they actually thought about it. It takes about 5 to 7 wraps around a threaded joint. Oh, and by the way, the reason why I did this survey, I didn't think of it myself, is a customer called in and said, well, I'm using that inexpensive tape, yours is way too much, yours costs way too much, and I said, look, if I can prove to you that our tape is actually less expensive to use, you may pay more right up the bat, but if it's less expensive to use than your inexpensive tape, would you buy my tape? And he said, yeah, that's where that came from. So on a 2-inch pipe, which is, like I said, all I've got, that's like 3 to 4 feet. 5 to 7 wraps of regular tape, that's like 3 to 4 feet of the inexpensive tape. That's a lot of tape. And on this 2-inch pipe, it translates to only about 7 joints. That's it, 7 joints on the standard size roll, which is about a 260-inch roll, of which you can get anywhere. So that's less than 22 feet. On the other hand, Frederickseal Premium PTFE tape requires 1 wrap. That's it. Zing, you're done. And our standard size roll is 1,296 inches, which is 108 feet. And using Frederickseal tape with 1 wrap is only about 6.5 inches around the 2-inch tape, which translates to about 200 joints for this 2-inch pipe, as opposed to 7 joints with the inexpensive tape. And to that, you might just say, well, that's your claim. No one's going to believe you anyway. Everyone here at my shop is just going to wrap and wrap and wrap if we buy your expensive tape. And they're just going to wrap it and wrap and wrap and wrap it. And to this, I always answer the same way. Very simple. Yep, they'll do it. They'll do it one time, and then they'll experience something interesting. They'll notice that there's so much mass of tape on there because of the thickness and density of our tape that they can't even get the pipe together again. It's too thick, it's too dense. And then they'll realize, by cracky, those Frederickseal guys were actually right. They'll wrap the threaded joint once, as we recommend, button it up, move on to the next job, Bob's your uncle. That's it. So there you go. Frederickseal Pure PTFE tape works great. You don't need to use nearly as much as the other stuff, shall we say. Thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. And we'll see you on the next fun-filled, exciting episode of Frederickseal instructional videos, of which we haven't decided what we're going to do yet. Take care.